Hello everyone, it's Amy and welcome back for week 152 of Build Your Stash and Craft. This week we are going to play with a dupe of the Magic Rainbow Sponge. And somehow I was watching YouTube and this video popped up and I thought that's really cool. And as she was explaining what she was doing and the sponge she was using, which was specially made by Ranger, and it's for I think her last name is Grobe or D, and her last name starts with a G. She was Carol Duvall's friend way back in the day, and she had designed this sponge for Ranger. And there is a video on YouTube called The Magic Rainbow Sponge that you can also go watch. But I'm going to show you all the techniques that she did because I just thought that's really cool. And I've never seen one around anymore, but we're going to make our own. So we got the Miracle Sponge because of its denseness. And that's the sponge that she had was very important, that it had that denseness. So we have the Miracle Sponge, and she had different sizes. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this sponge in half. And so I'm going to just take the other sponge. It's almost, not quite, it's 1/8 of an inch off, but it's almost twice as long as it is wide. So I'm just going to take the other sponge and hold it up here. And I'm going to use my X-Acto knife. And it cuts like butter, so it's not hard to cut at all. My biggest thing is I just kind of want to try and make sure that I keep my knife straight up and down and that I don't saw. I just want to cut through. So there we go. I shaved off a little bit of this here, so I probably shouldn't have done that. I should have used that to draw a line because then I would have been able to see better, because look what I did there. Yeah, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to cut it so it's straight up and down as best as I can. There we go. And look how easy that cuts. And I'm going to cut this one too so it's kind of straight. It doesn't have to be perfect. There we go. Okay, so now I've got a few different sizes. And I had cut off of the first one, I had cut a little tiny piece because I thought that that would be a cool size to work with. And then we'll just cut one maybe like about 1 inch. And then we'll have this piece left. So we've got all these different sizes that are going to work for us. Ooh, maybe even this piece that I cut to straighten it off we might be able to use. So it's just a really nice way to make backgrounds. We'll start with this like medium-sized piece here. And it's so quick and simple, and I have pulled out, let me just kind of move you a little bit. Those are all the paints that I used for the Ebru painting, and they've been sitting for a couple weeks with their nice tight lids on, so I just shook them up because the bubbles don't bother me, because we're going to put them in the sponge, or on the sponge, so the bubbles will not affect us. And I shook them up really good because they'd been sitting for a while, and that's what we're going to use. So that is paint, just plain old craft paint, watered down, 50% paint, 50% water. And now it has sat for a little while, so it may be a little bit thicker than that now. And then we have some, like I said, if you can find pipettes, sometimes if you can find pipettes, you can get them in a much bigger quantity. But we just picked up some little eyedroppers here, or medicine droppers, whatever they are. And what we're going to do, let me set that aside for a second, is we are just going to choose a couple of colors, as many as you want. So let's do a little bit of pink. So I'm going to suck some of that up, and I'm going to put it right on the corner of the sponge and let it soak in. You want to have some paint there. So I'm just going to get that right there. And then I'm going to stick this, I have a glass of water here, so I'm just going to quick rinse it. All I'm doing is just squeezing it in the water. There we go. And then let's do some blue. And put that right next to it. And again, it's right on the edge of the sponge. And you want a little bit to go down on each side. Have a little bit here. Oops, and a little bit there. And give it just a second to soak in. Now don't, on her she said, because she used a dye base paint that was specially made by Ranger for her magic sponge, and she said she washed them off in her sink. Don't wash these off in your sink. You know, they're cheap enough. It's 50 cents a sponge. You get all of these pieces. Each one of these pieces has all of these edges. When you use it up, don't wash it in the sink because you don't want to wash the acrylic paint down your sink. And then let's do a little bit of, this is kind of a yellow. And you really want to concentrate on that edge, not so much about getting it on the top or the side. It's going to kind of soak down there, but you really want it to soak into that edge. Okay. And then maybe we'll put a little bit of the maroon color at the other end, and then we'll have it all full, and I'll show you how it works. It's very, very cool. And like I said, this is like an oldie. If you ever watched Carol Duvall, if you're in the United States, Carol Duvall was a big crafter. And I think any of us who are probably over the age of 50, maybe even a little less than that, know who Carol Duvall is. She had her own show. It was a very interesting show. As a matter of fact, when I worked, it used to be on, it was like on reruns, and my dad used to record it for me. I don't even know how many VHS tapes I have with the Carol Duvall show on it. And he would take out the commercials for me. It was pretty cool. So there we go. Now we've got our paint on there, and the way that you use it, and also she did it on glossy cardstock. So if you have any old photo paper that you got at a garage sale or a thrift store or whatever, go ahead and use that. You know, it's and try that and see how that works, because I have some of that. So you're just going to put it on your paper, whoops, and move it. And isn't that cool? And then if you want to like fill up the whole card, you're just going to go right next to it. I should have got some scrap paper to put down below. Oh well. Oops, I'm going to turn this around because being that I'm right-handed, oh, this is not going to work. Okay, let's see here. Let me just start right back here at the beginning. And you just follow the contour of the one you made before. So there you go. One huge background page, bing, bang, boom, that quick. So, and that is called the Wiggles, because she has all different kinds of little patterns that she shows you. And so that's one of them. I have to figure out where to throw them. And then she has the zigzag, and the zigzag is almost exactly the same, except you very much put a point in it. And again, you can go over and do that again. I like the way that looks, so I don't want to fill in the whole card because I like it just like that. So, and let's see here. So that's the zigzag. You can just do it straight. And we may need to redo this here very shortly. But just a straight line. If you can actually draw straight, because as you can see, I did not. And we are running out of our blue and our yellow. But there we go. So I should have re-inked before I started this one, or repainted, or however you want to call that, since it's not actually ink. But if you have some kind of inks that you want to try on there, you know, that would be great too. Let's put some more on here. And go to another pattern. I just think that these are just very cool. It's really fun, really easy. Something that you could do, you know, over the holidays with your kids. And, you know, maybe you can find some pipettes since these little droppers are glass. But, you know, I think that it would just really be a fun thing to do with your grandkids or your kids or the neighbor's kids, and just, you know, have a good time with it. And it's so simple, and you get such a great effect in such a small amount of time. I'm just trying to get that clean. Having a problem with it. Shouldn't put so much on it. And take your time so that it doesn't run down like that, because you really don't want it way down your sponge. You want it to soak in right here, because this is where you're using it. I'm just going to set that one down and grab another one for the pink. Okay. And then you can do a plaid. By just going like this and turning it. And you do have to watch where you put your hands, because it's wet and you're moving so fast that it doesn't actually have any time to dry. And there we go. There's a plaid. Isn't it? I just think it's really cool. I can't help it. And you know, she giggles through this whole thing and it almost kind of drove me crazy. But actually now I keep finding myself sitting here kind of giggling, because it is just, it's so fun. And it's just like, wow, you know, that's so cool. It's so quick. And then, you know, then you've got a curve. You just start right down at the bottom. And just do a curve. Just like that. And like I said, with her glossy paper, it was a little glossier. If you use inks, they would probably be darker. And in all of those that you did there, like the plaids, you can do them on a diagonal. Let's switch colors. We'll try this one right here. Oh, you know what? We can switch colors, but we can switch colors on the same sponge. So let's see, we did pink, blue, yellow. Let's do green. And again, just try and put it on the... Okay, now this green is not very watery. A lot of its water must have kind of evaporated out a bit, but we're going to use it anyways. If I were going to do this for a long time, I would water that down just a little bit and stir it up. We'll just do 3 colors. We'll go green, and then we'll do orange, and I have another green here. So I'm going to go over here and get some orange. And that's the thing, you can do as many colors as you want to. You can do a ton of colors. You can do just a couple of colors. I think I need a little bit more orange there. Oh yeah, that green is very thick because it doesn't even want to come out of the dropper. And this is just, I just have a glass of water here, and I'm just filling the droppers with water and then squashing it out. I set a couple down on the table, especially being that these are such tiny droppers. You shouldn't do that. If you're going to, when you're done, fill it with some water and then drop it into your water glass. But fill it with water first. Okay, and then I've got another green here. We'll do this one. And, you know, you've got, like I said, you've got all of these edges. And with the inks, she spritzes it with water. And it makes it a lighter color if you do that. And you could do that with your paints too, and it would lighten it up a little bit. So, and then my favorite one that she does is, she calls it the peacock. And you just like start in the middle and just kind of go up and come back around. And then just do it again. Oops. And again. And again. And again. And I think that that one is really pretty too. It's prettier with this combination that I chose was not a good one because there's not enough contrast to really see anything. So let's just I'm going to put a little bit more green here. I'm going to take a little bit of this kind of maroon color, and I'm going to just put it on top of that yellow. Worst comes to worst, what's going to happen is the two colors are going to blend. Or it might change in the middle of making a design from maroon to orange. We'll have to see. And then we can put the other green back on there, because we've got that. I forgot that this green is not watered down enough. Okay. And then you can do things like take a card base, stamp one word on the middle. It doesn't look that nice. Don't necessarily want to really send that to somebody. But then just start down on the corner with their favorite colors, let's say, and just put a rainbow across it. One simple rainbow. Fold your card into a card. And I mean, maybe I should have brought that down a little bit. And look, the maroon and the orange did kind of blend. That's really cool. I like that. But look at how quickly you could make a card with that. You could make your Christmas cards with whatever your Christmas colors that you like are. Put your Christmas sentiment on there and just put a rainbow across all of them. And you know how quickly you could make a whole bunch of Christmas cards. So, and then just little designs like the twist. Set it down and give it a twist. Oh, she calls it the bow tie. Set it down, give it a twist. And of course, this one would be more effective on a larger piece of paper, probably, since you don't really see that much of it here. But there you go. There's a bow tie. And then we have, she just does her edges, just as a background. And she calls these pickup sticks. And there we go. And if you push a little bit hard, they get a little bit poofy, but if you don't push hard, you get more of a, let's do another one. I was pushing, so if you just touch, there, you just touch, then you get really thin ones. And let's see I mean, there are so many things here. Just use it on the edge of a card. Let's do the little one. One that's a little bit smaller. And it would have been nice if I had the pipettes and had a different pipette for each color. But this works just fine. And actually, I mean, this is no big deal, except that I'm trying to hurry for the video's sake. Otherwise, I mean, it's not that hard to clean these out like this. Okay, let's see here. I'm going to just dry them off just really quickly because I've got water all up the sides and they're kind of slippery. Okay, so, excuse me. And look at the background you're getting just on your drop paper. So let's do blue just on the little edge. And I want to remember not to use that one green because it doesn't soak in as well. So yes, about 50-50 craft paint and water. And it makes your craft paint go twice as far. Let's try a little bit of light blue too. We'll put light blue on the other end and a contrasting color in the middle. How about a little bit of pink? And just take your time so that you get it nice and loaded. The more time you take to get it right there on that corner and let it soak in, the longer it's going to last, the more copies you'll get out of that one. What color were we putting in the middle? Pink. Okay. And then you can just take it on a card or a background and just not very good at being on the edge, and then turn it. And there we go. Now you have a focal point for an ATC, a card, whatever you may want to have there. I'm gonna cover up this little bit of white that I left. And you've got the straight lines with a little bit of plaid in the corners. So let's see here. The small one, she says you can write with. So now this one is, it's as small as the one she had, but she had a very large piece of paper. Oh, let's get a bigger piece of paper. I've got a half sheet here. And keep it always in the same direction, and it will be like calligraphy. And there we go. Pretty cool. And probably if you're going to write, you might want to make sure that your sponge is loaded right before you write, because you're doing a lot, and my blue did lighten up quite a bit. So let me see what else. So because there were just so many things, keep your hands out of the way when you're trying to hold on to it. Got a lot of paint right there of these colors. I'm going to pick that up. And then she does spritz the sponges sometimes with water, and that may make them a little bit lighter. We've got a pretty lightness going on, so we don't necessarily need that. But if you're using inks, you may want to do that. Oh, and then another really, really cool one. And then we'll be done. But you can see her video. I think I've kind of went over all the different things that she does. But then you can play with it and just come up with all of your own things. This is something that she says one of her, she had a student that was taking one of her classes with this sponge, and the student made it up. And so it's like, and it's a really good idea, and it's really turned out cute. So, you know, something that Dee hadn't, you know, she invented the sponge and everything, but even she hadn't thought of this. So you play with it and just, you know, come up with lots of your own ideas. Let's do a bigger piece. And what she did was she turned it into a tile, something that would be like a mosaic tile, by using the flat side and using a pattern. And this is something I think that because you're going to repeat this, you definitely want to make sure that you take your time and actually get the paint where you know, like, make sure you get enough paint on there. Now, the nice thing about this is that I'm just noticing is because this is a flat surface, because I'm holding it flat like this, I don't want to overdo it because I don't want it to really like widen out. But I can put a little bit of extra paint there and let it soak in when I go to the next one because I'm holding it flat. And you could even draw a design on top of your sponge before you do this. I think I would do it in pencil. Nothing water soluble, so that when you put the paint on it, that ink or whatever you may have used to draw it would come off with the water. maybe just a little bit more. That's got a lot of bubbles on it. Because I got really close together over here, I'm going to attach all of them. There we go. All right, let's just try dark blue. I'm just going to mix the colors. And then just do another pattern inside this one. You can speed through this while I'm doing this, because it may be kind of boring, but I do want to make sure that I actually get enough of the paint on here to try and do this, because I haven't tried this one yet. I forgot all about it when I was playing with it the first time, just to make sure it worked. You don't want to put too much that it doesn't soak in. And then I'm going to put some pink. I don't know why I'm using pink today. It's not even one of my favorite colors, but... And I'm going to do that all over the whole corner, just because it's quicker. You can get much, much more intricate and take your time with it when you have the time. I'm dripping it all over, but that's okay. I can flip my paper over one. I shouldn't have put that paper there so that the drips went on my drop cloth instead of that paper. We're almost there, and you get the idea. Sorry for getting quiet. Oops. And making a mess. But hey, you know, if when you buy tiles, like for your kitchen or whatever, if they're all handmade, they're not exactly the same. And you pay more for them because they're not exactly the same. Because they're homemade. I'm going to have to add a little more blue to this and hope that that helps. I should have been a little more careful. And there we go. Don't forget to put your stoppers in the water. Okay, now for the tile effect. You can do it straight, you can do it on an angle, you can do it however you'd like. Just take it, give it a little press. My paint's still a little bit wet. Leave a gap. Don't turn your sponge. Keep your sponge in the same orientation the whole time. Okay, and for this technique, I think the paint would need to be a little bit thinner. It did get thick as it was sitting for a couple of weeks. A little bit thinner paint and not quite as much. Go there, go there, there, there. But at least you get the gist. There, 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 and there. Oops. Oops, I did that one wrong anyways. Over here. Just wondering what will happen if I retouch it. If it lifts off, that's lifting off a little bit of the extra that was there. And I guess that you really do wind up getting some bubbles kind of in your sponge, or your sponge is making a little bit of bubbles as you pick it up. But there we go. There's the tile effect, which is also quite cool. So I think that's pretty much the different effects that she showed. And, you know, it's just a really fun thing to play with. It's a very cheap, inexpensive way to have a good time. Craft paints watered down. A couple of magic sponges that are 50 cents a piece. And some really cool, like she was a card maker, so she did these things for card backgrounds. But they also would make, I love that tile. Wow, that one turned out good. I like that one a lot. You know, you can use these for so many things that you're doing. You can use them in your journals. You can use them for just about anything that you work on. You can even use it to make a piece of art. I'm just kind of looking at I made notes when I was watching her because she went so fast and there were like so many different things that she was doing that, and I really thought that they were all really neat. And again, the biggest thing is watch where you put your fingers. Isn't that cool? And then when she did this one, she actually did go back in and like do it again. I don't know what I'm doing here. And around the outside edge too. Oh, there we go. So they turn out very cool. So I hope that if you got some of these and you try it, I hope that you have a blast with it because I think it's really fun. And I think that I will be using it at different times for some backgrounds, or I'm not even sure what all I might use it for. I really do like that tile effect. And like I said, if you have inks, you can try it with inks. You can try it with whatever you have. Watercolors. There we go. So I'll be back in just a second, clean up my mess here, throw everything up here so you can see what we did, and tell you what we need for next week. Be right back. Okay, I am back, and for next week we are going to need our hot glue gun, and we are going to need clothespins. This type of a clothespin that does this, just regular size is fine. And I think overseas you call them pegs, but whatever you call these, we are going to need a package of these. So you're going to need at least 20. So if you already have some, you know, and you don't want to go buy a new package, like I said, you'll need at least 20 of these. So we're going to need these and a hot glue gun. That's what we'll need for next week. So we're going to spend $1 to buy some clothespins. And we had, let's see here, we had $83 in our bank. So we're going to save $4. That will make it that we have $87 in our bank. But I just wanted to kind of just run through these really quick. Cute card. Took just 2 seconds to do it. Even with my bad stamping, the little rainbow made it look cute. So, and then we just have all of these just really great different designs that we can use for backgrounds. We can use them if, if you paint one and you don't like it, you can rip it up and use it in collage. But I just think that they all turned out really neat. And I hope that you enjoyed this video. And I hope if you play with this, you have as much fun as I did, because I really had a really good time with it. And then, I didn't do any more with that sponge that I had made the tile out of. I just took it and stamped it over my whole background paper. And I took my little sponge, the one that I said you could do calligraphy with, and I put some blue and some pink on it because this was too dry. And let me see here. It's over here because I turned my drop paper around because this was messier, and I really like the way the rest of it looks. And I made a heart. Just basically the same way that you make the peacock. It's probably too dry now, but just hold it on an angle and up and down and up and down. I like to put a little tail on it, and then just fill in your center. Whoops. And you don't even have to fill in the center. But there we go. And you don't have to put a tail on it either. You can just do it like that. Just like that. But yeah, so you can even make hearts with them. Just, play with it, try it out, see what you can do. So there we go. But these are all the ones that we did this week. I hope you enjoyed yourself. For next week, we're going to need a package of clothespins, and I'll see you then. Thank you very much for stopping by. I really do appreciate it, and I hope that you all have an outstanding day. Bye-bye.